This is the Horror Scouts podcast, and we're about to review Talk to Me. Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to the Horror Scouts podcast. My name is Mike. I am one of your hosts and troop leaders. I'm joined, as always, by your other two hosts and troop leaders, Brian.
Hello.
And Nick.
Howdy.
And just a quick couple of things of housekeeping. You can check out this show one of two ways, which you're doing right now. You can watch us for the video version on YouTube, youtube.com/@horrorscouts, or you can listen to the audio version on your favorite podcast service of choice, including Apple, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google, Amazon, and more. And also, spoiler warning, if you're new around here, all of our reviews contain full spoilers, so if you don't want anything ruined for Talk to Me, go check it out, and then come on back and check out the conversation. Good, got that out of the way. It's October, at least when this releases, it is. We made it. We made it to Spoopy Month.
Do you guys have lists going? I was meant to ask you that before. I have nothing currently on a must watch this month list.
Paul and I started one.
Okay.
I can bring it up.
I don't yet. Usually I reserve October for... Well, I usually do rewatches. I have a list from the previous years. I need to see what I watched last year. But I also recently upgraded some of them, so I think I might actually just start pulling out movies and stacking them on my table. But
Nice.
I haven't done that yet.
Let's see here. We haven't watched Shaun of the Dead in quite a few years, and Paula has been itching lately. It's come up a few times this year, and then it happened to be on TV the other night. And we were like, we wanted to just keep watching so bad, but we forced ourselves to stop. I want to check out the new Blair Witch again, the latest Blair Witch again. That one was really good.
Yeah, that's on my list.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think I actually have that on disc. Been a long time since I've seen Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
Let's see. Monster Squad, that one every other year we end up watching that. Paula wants to watch Halloween Ends just so we can say we finished the trilogy.
That is also on my list for this October.
So.
I need to do it. Just get it done.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys report back to me.
Yeah. Talk to Me is off the list. Check that off. Good. The Autopsy of Jane Doe. Want to go back to that one. I think I've seen that twice, maybe.
I'm going to add that to my list.
Want to watch The Visit because I remember liking it a lot, but I'm also does it really hold up if you know the twist?
Yeah.
So I don't know. That'll probably sit at the bottom of the list. If we get to it, we get to it. And then as far as new stuff, I want to watch The Boogeyman and The Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Yeah, I heard good things about that.
Yeah, so that could be cool. And then also Flanagan's new show, The Fall of the House of Usher, will start second week, I think. So we're definitely going to be watching that. I think it's only 10, maybe even 8 episodes. It's not very long. So that's what our list looks like so far.
Okay.
It's pretty solid.
Yeah.
I currently have none, so
I know I'm going to be a couple I'm going to be watching. So Mallory and I have been doing a real bad job this year of sticking with Movie Monday. We've been hit or miss, but then also hitting the 1,001 movies you should see before you die list. But there's a bunch of genre movies on there she hasn't seen that I have that I really want to watch with her, like just The Night of the Living Dead and Candyman and a bunch of others. So it being October and my birthday month, she's letting me choose those. So I have 4 Mondays, I think, to choose from or to use. So as I already named 2 of them, I got to figure out the other 2. Actually, I have 5 Mondays.
Hey,
Aha.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I
squeeze a
do.
bonus in.
Oh, yeah. So I just got to pick the other ones from that list. And, I mean, there's some newer ones on that list, like Hereditary. I think Midsummer. I don't know if I'm going to use those. I'm probably going to go more classic. But that's exciting. I just learned I have an extra movie I can force upon my wife.
Just be like, no, Martyrs is on the list. I swear. Totally swear it's on the list.
I just added The Eyes of My Mother because I've yet to show that to Paula. So
Yeah, I would like to rewatch that.
I'm going to actually, in my head, I'm going to write that one down because I did force that one on Mallory once. She did not quite appreciate it the same way we did.
that was in Spanish, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Did either of you guys watch Renfield yet?
Yes.
No.
Okay, because that's streaming now. Val and I were going to watch it the other day.
Yeah, it's fun.
Put that one on the list. It's horror adjacent, at least.
Yeah.
Thematically, if not tonally.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, plenty of blood. So
Yeah. And on a not scary but Halloween appropriate thing, I think I'm going to watch Beetlejuice this month.
nice.
We always watch Beetlejuice.
I don't know that I've ever seen it start to finish in its entirety. I've seen the entirety of the movie, but it's always been like catching snippets on TV. I don't know that I've ever sat down and watched Beetlejuice.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So like, I think I've done pretty good at catching up on most of my other big glaring like blank spots since we started this show. That one, because it's not like a horror movie, it's just a spooky themed movie. That one has persisted as like one I haven't made myself watch yet. So maybe this will be the month that I actually do it.
Yeah, gotta get ready for the sequel that's coming.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've got probably a couple of years, but yeah.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
One movie I want to call out that I did watch recently. I've had it on my to watch list on one of the apps for a while now because like the description sounded okay, but I wasn't sure if it was actually going to be worth it. It's called Vicious Fun.
That's been on a list of mine. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's about this. It's like a horror. Well, like not horror, but like horror adjacent, whatever. Comedy where this young guy stumbles across a like a therapy group. What's the term? You sit around a meeting. Hi, I'm whatever. Hi, whatever. For serial killers. And like, it turned out to be pretty damn good. Like we thoroughly enjoyed it. Like it kind of has two very distinct parts to it because you think the movie's going to pretty much take place in one spot, but then it like opens up after a little while. So that second part is definitely better. Like it picks up and everything. But I think it's definitely worth a watch. It was fun and funny and not as like stupid as we thought it was going to be. So
okay,
nice,
worth checking out. Vicious Fun. Unless anyone's got anything of note, we can jump into our review.
Let's do it.
Works for me.
Okay, cool. Okay, as we mentioned at the top of the show, Talk to Me is our review for this episode. Just a little bit of info about the film before we get rolling. This one was written by Danny Philippou, Bill Heinzman, and Daley Pearson, and it was directed by Danny and Michael Philippou, a pair of brothers, who apparently turned down the chance to direct a DCEU film to make this their directorial debut. And I'm glad they did. Yeah. Our cast includes Sophie Wilde as Mia, Alexandra Jensen as Jade, her best friend, Joe Bird as Riley, Jade's brother, Otis, I'm going to say Donji as Daniel, Jade's boyfriend, Chris Alosio as Joss, the guy who essentially owns the hand. If you've seen the trailers or posters, you know what I'm talking about. Zoe Terex as Haley, who is best friends with Joss. And we got Miranda Otto playing Sue, Riley and Jade's mom, and Marcus Johnson playing Max, Mia's dad. I believe I read that this is, so our lead character is Mia. So Sophie Wilde, I believe this is her first feature length lead role. And the synopsis for Talk to Me. When a group of friends discover how to conjure spirits using an embalmed hand, they become hooked on the new thrill until one of them goes too far and opens the door to the spirit world, forcing them to choose who to trust, the dead or the living. So first things first, for all of our reviews, just a quick yay, nay, or just okay.
I'm going yay.
I'm going just okay.
I'm going yay.
What do they weigh in?
That was just the alarm. My dog needs her medication.
Okay.
Yeah, yay. Going yay for this one. Okay. So Brian has seen this one twice now.
I have.
Because he watched it. Did you see it in the theater?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, with a friend in some theater.
Okay, cool. So he was kind enough to rewatch it so we could check it out because we also wanted to see it. Yeah, this is actually like probably one of my favorites from this year. It's not mind blowing, but I think it was well done, unique, and doesn't suffer too much from our biggest peeve here on this show, which is like lore and stuff, and veering off too far from the main path, which I think was very cool.
Yep, I totally agree. This movie worked for me for those main reasons of they handled the lore situation by just not having any. Like, fucking brilliant. Mm-hmm. If you don't introduce it, I don't second guess it. I don't question it. I mean, there's even a scene where like, where'd you find this? Oh, it was given to us. I heard it was a medium's hand that was embalmed. Oh, that's crazy. I heard it was whatever. That's it. Mm-hmm. No more information. You get nothing. Why is there writing all over it? Who fucking knows? Like, how is it that sometimes if you ask to see mom, you see mom? Sometimes you get a rando. No control over it. They don't explain it. Doesn't matter. Like, perfect. If you don't give me lore, I can't question it. I can just enjoy the ride. Secondly, what it did really right is didn't try to like up the ante so much in the third act that you change the tone of the movie. It was a consistent escalation with a decent payoff that, like, we've seen a whole bunch of possession people seeing spirits and ghosts and things that aren't there and whatever. Like, the core, like, plot of this isn't groundbreaking, mind-bogglingly new, but they executed it well. And they didn't have to, like, pull a Hereditary at the end where it's like, oh, it's a different movie for the last third. Okay, that's how we had to escalate this, because you had like that crazy moment that everybody talks about, but there's still an hour left of the movie. So let's just change the whole script. We see a lot of movies where like that last 15 minutes fucking ruins the movie. And this didn't do that. It just kept an even keel kind of the whole way through. And that worked for me. The pacing was there. There were only a few jump scares. Good. The gore that was there was good and mostly practical. I don't know. I like it. It just worked for being a small budget movie. I was pleasantly surprised by it. I will say I was surprised by it because I didn't ever see a trailer with sound on it. I just saw targeted things on on Instagram every now and then. Had no idea it was Australian.
Oh.
No fucking clue. Like that first party scene, I was like, what are they saying?
It was a little hard, yeah.
Yeah, that kid's name is Duckett, which is not something I'm used to from my very American ears. And with the accent, I literally thought they were calling the kid Bucket for like that entire first scene. And it wasn't until they went to go find the brother that it was clear in a non-loud environment they were saying Duckett. And I was like, oh, still not a name I know, but makes more sense than Bucket. So, yeah, I don't know. I really enjoyed it.
Cool. How about you, Brian? Some overall thoughts?
It was it was solid. I think I actually enjoyed it slightly less on the rewatch, partially because I was thinking about it more, but partially it had obviously hadn't been that long since I'd watched it, so it was far less effective the second time, I thought.
Yeah.
Um, but for all the things it did right, nailing the ending. I mean, that was one of the best parts. Was not just the very end, which was cool, but how they didn't escalate it. They just let the plot continue as it's supposed to. It's it's not. I think there was a lot of hype, but like you actually mentioned, Nick, the plot we've seen before. It's derivative of so many things. The whole hand and possession thing is the unique aspect of the movie, but all the characters and how they act and what they do about it, and even the way the movie is paced in that regard, has been done in especially a lot of these modern horror movies. And they make stupid decisions, and there was they like fought with each other and they worked with each other, and then they wanted to kill each other and they worked with each other, and like some of that relationship aspect did not work for me for a chunk of that movie. But I mean, I did like that there on the plus there wasn't that one person that did know everything and they just didn't listen to them. Like I appreciated, but just some of the lack of, I don't know, it just hit too many things the same way. It's like, oh, you're going to do that. And like the whole scene with the father, with Mia's dad, as soon as they like sat down, you're like, this isn't going to end well. Like you heard the voice in the background, oh, he's dead. And they pretty much told you how he was going to die in the opening of the movie.
Okay.
If you're maybe it was a little more obvious the second time around, but in the beginning of the movie with Duckett and the brother keeps going, oh, you're not him, and then kills his brother out of nowhere, and then she starts seeing people, and her ghost mother saying, oh, that's not him, that's somebody else, and then she sees the monster one. So maybe not as soon as they sit down, but a little into that scene, you're like, okay, I see what you're going to do here. And I'm sure that was your favorite scene in the movie, Nick.
Oh, totally.
At
least it was more to like, it was to the back of the neck more so than like the front of the throat. So it was,
and it wasn't better. A slit. It was just a puncture wound.
Yeah, it was a lot easier to watch. I mean, you had a good one in this too.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that. So there was a lot of good things about the movie. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know if, compared to some other movies, like it lives up to some of the hype and popularity, and a 7.2 on IMDb. I feel like we've seen better movies that have lesser scores. That said, I think this is a great version of a horror 102, 201, like a newer movie that it's really effective for people who aren't regular horror movie watchers. Like we can appreciate it. We're actually talking about the movie was enjoyable, but about what it did right versus wrong. But if you don't have that background, just went and saw this movie, there's a lot of shock value in there. There's a lot of disturbing images. If you can relate to Mia at all, that can be effective. I fortunately cannot empathize anyway. Obviously, you can sympathize. But to play on that note, so there's a lot of good things that can hit the right people very effectively.
Yeah, I want to just also touch on the idea of what Nick said about not having lore, but also how kind of everyone deals with it, because it's the hand. It's kind of like an urban legend, basically, that they actually, no pun intended, got their hands on, and just carry it around in a backpack. And so a real interesting thing that this movie did was juxtaposing this scary, potentially dangerous urban legend thing, yet these kids are like using it as a party trick. And like there's one scene in particular, I think it's the second time No, she had her medicine. It's fine. The second time they were going around and it really turned into a party and it was like fast cutting and more like a montage. That scene was so fucking good. Like it was cut so well. And it's like the music is party music, but they're doing this very scary, dangerous thing. And then Mia starts singing like in French or something at some point, and it matches up with the song, but it's not part of the song.
Right.
Like, oh, that was my favorite scene of the whole movie. But like they're trying to follow the rules because they know how dangerous this is, but it's also like, all right, we're all getting together at freaking Joss's house to do this, and we're going to take turns and argue over who gets to go next and everything. It was weird. It almost made you uncomfortable, just like the carelessness that went into it, but also they took it seriously because they knew it could only be whatever it was, 90 seconds. Or so.
Well, that's the funny thing. Like, it was cool how they used it as a drug. Like, they were getting high off it, which was an interesting perspective of it. And supposedly they knew the rules and supposedly knew the dangers. That's why they timed it.
Mm-hmm.
But when Mia does it, she goes over the 90 seconds, and it's acknowledged by Haley that we went a few seconds over, but then nobody seems to care. And then when she starts talking about how she's seeing things and things are following us around, there's a scene where Haley's friend goes, "We've all done it. None of us are seeing shit. So why are you seeing shit?" It's like, she went over. Like, you know, there's consequences for going over. And then she's saying she's seeing things and you're dismissing what she's seeing. Yet you all know there's ghosts there. You've literally all done this. So like, why are you being dismissive of this at all? Or not even saying, you know, nobody acknowledged that. Haley doesn't say, well, oh wait, there wasn't that revelatory scene where Haley goes, oh no shit, you went over the 90 seconds. So everyone else plays ignorant on that. And that was actually a little frustrating. It's like, well, either believe it all or don't believe it. Like, it.
Right.
Yeah, I think the way that scene resolved was Joss talking about Bucket.
Yeah, that's how it went. I was like,
he's like,
yeah,
he
Haley
saw stuff.
Yeah, he got fucked up off it. So like, okay, so that's two of you now. And then so you're like asking for help and try to come to a solution, but didn't really, because Mia made stuff up. And I get it, they're all scared or don't want to be part of it because they don't want to be connected when shit goes south. But like, the lack of acknowledging that we're messing with the ghost world, something could really go wrong here, was a little weird.
Yeah, it was interesting. I'm glad that they made these kids, like, there was different groups that were friends and it wasn't one big friend group, because you could have that little bit of distrust or the dismissiveness, and then to incorporate the whole Riley thing and the younger brother who wants to so badly to be cool and do what the older kids are doing and have that go south. Like, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was smart. I mean, that was the other reason that party scene was the best scene in the movie. I mean, the actual party aspect you were talking about was very well shot and edited, but where it devolves from there also became the most intense and crazy scene in the movie. And I think that's why it was a really smart move to not escalate it further, besides the other reasons we talked about, is you would have to top that scene. And in order to do that well, would have taken more thought than we've seen others try to do.
Yeah. I feel like you wouldn't pay it off as well as you wanted to.
Right.
Yeah, it's such a clever mechanic, and to be able to, you know, you don't know what ghost you're going to get, so that provides the flavor each time, you know. Like the first ghost we see, so when Mia does it, that first, like, waterlogged Davy Jones looking, that was like,
well, that's the second one. Remember, the first time she holds the hand, she sees the old man and then she lets go.
Yeah, there's just that one quick jump scare of the old man, and then the second time you're looking at Mia and the camera does this to show you the old lady. So
Yeah.
like the first one is just, here's a jump scare because you don't know what you're going to see as the viewer. And now you're like, I'm ready. I'm expecting the worst. And
Yeah.
instead of doing another jump scare, they're just like, no, this is what she's looking at. It's uncomfortable. It's a scary looking thing, but we're going to do it slowly and not make you jump.
Yeah.
I liked the way they treated that because every time they grabbed the hand, I expected a jump scare and they never did it again. The only time you got that jump scare was the very, very first time.
Nice. Yeah, it was really effective. And I like how the ghosts, you never know what they're going to look like. Because like a lesser movie would just have different people or genders or ages or whatever, but with like the same dumb, just like black eye makeup and gray face or whatever. But you really didn't know what you were going to get, which was very cool. And I mean, so that also ties into just talking about the practical effects and the makeup on all these ghosts. I mean, the mom, it was good. It was good, but it was the least cool of all those ghost makeups.
Yes. I mean, probably because we saw a lot of her and they weren't just like quick scenes, and her death wasn't particularly grisly, like somebody drowning and becoming like a bloated corpse like you see from some of them. She just looked normal, but a little more gaunt and dead.
Right.
Yeah. So funny thing about that. So Mike, did you read all of the trivia? Okay. Because I want to talk about this one. So I know you didn't. Oh, that's why Mike already alluded to the fact he did. So there's a spoiler trivia on IMDb. Now, obviously, anyone can enter these. But it states, though never explicitly stated, it is heavily implied that the ghost of Mia's mother is, in fact, the drowned ghost Mia sees during her first possession. It's during her encounter with the drowned woman that Mia stays possessed for longer than 90 seconds, and she's told, which is so she'll make ghosts want to stay. Then, several times during the appearance of Mia's mother, the sound of water is prominent on the soundtrack. And in her final scenes, Mia's mother begins to appear waterlogged and bloated like the drowned woman. That checks out. I was paying attention to that as I was watching, especially when she calls her mother back for that longer scene in the bedroom. And there's that overhead shot of them laying on the bed. Like, the sound sounds really watery, and it actually cuts to Riley getting clean and then bringing out the washcloth. And then when you see the ghost face over Mia's shoulder in the scene alongside the highway, you can see it's a bloated, waterlogged face.
Oh, okay. I didn't pick up on that. I noticed all the water throughout, that like kind of recurring dripping motif, but I didn't notice the like devolving state of the mom.
They didn't show it devolve too much until that close up when she's like whispering in her ear and you see the lips all like bloated out. So I want to justify this as it's the water ghost, the bloated ghost, whatever, pretending to be Mia's mother. Because Mia's mother died of a sleeping pill overdose. Like, that was confirmed. Whether it was intentional or not was confirmed later in the movie. Right. So why the hell would she be drowned? That makes zero sense. So to me, maybe it's trying to tell you that her mom is not her mom. It is the ghost. They're two different beings. They just both happen to be black women, so it seems. Which I guess could make it confusing to say they are the same, but to be the same makes no sense whatsoever. So I'm going with it's the ghost pretending to be, because they knew they could get to her that way, I guess. But it is interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting when I saw that.
That's where you need a commentary track.
I've literally never watched a commentary track. In the hundreds of discs I have, they all have commentary tracks, and I read some of them are really good. I'm like, I want to watch the movie. Like, if I'm sitting down to put it on, I want to watch the movie. Like, I need to make a point of being like, I'm not going to watch this today. I'm watching somebody talk about this today. And
I feel like pick one of those movies that you watch every year on Halloween that you've seen a billion times.
Yeah.
And throw on the commentary instead of the actual movie. I mean, you still get to watch the movie while they talk about it, but you get like further details about specific scenes.
Yeah, I do need to try that.
Yeah.
But at any rate,
It can be interesting. I feel like there's a director's cut of this somewhere that answers some more questions. Maybe for better, maybe for worse. But like a couple of the jumps felt a little like too sudden. Like after talking about Bucket and being like, oh, his brother's still alive. We should talk to him. It's like immediately, here we are at a train stop and here's the brother. Like,
yeah, how'd you track him to a bus stop?
Just fucking immediately, the four of them roll on from the left side of the screen and talk to the brother, like instantly. Oh, okay, we're doing this now. And that scene didn't really it didn't give you much. Like you didn't really learn a shit ton from the brother.
Yeah.
Like that whole scene kind of didn't really need to be in the movie, but it was. I feel like there was more around it that probably played out on either end of it originally that got maybe chopped for time, because it was a very like harsh in and not big payoff out before you get to whatever the next scene was. And maybe we get a little bit more information about, you know, the going over the 90 seconds and, you know, why they downplay that, or I don't know, maybe there's a little bit more to come down the road, or maybe not. I don't know. Hopefully no more lore.
No, but you're right about that, because the brother gives like one comment that could potentially help and they immediately dismiss it because of Riley's state. It's like, well, okay, fuck me then. I can't help you.
Right. Yeah.
But it's like unnecessary for the audience to tie that together. Like, yeah, we get it. We understand what happened to Duckett now. I don't understand how that knife fit in his eye socket, but I mean, just
it's a big knife.
Yeah, but bone's really hard. So it should have gotten stuck like halfway in. I paused that scene like 5 times because they don't show you the knife very clearly. I was like, okay, maybe it's that like, you know, a scaling knife or something easily fit in. But I got it. I was like, you're kind of pushing that fitting into my socket. I didn't love it either way.
Yeah.
And yet also not the worst eye thing in this movie.
No, fucking hell, man. That was a new one. Like
God, that was good. It
was good. It was a good scene. But fuck me.
It's incredible. So, okay. For those of you that didn't or aren't going to watch the movie, what we're talking about is eventually, you know, Riley wanting to be the cool younger brother, really wants to do it. His older sister won't let him. Older sister leaves the room and he convinces Mia to let him hold the hand and do the thing. And when he does, he sees Mia's mom and she wants to talk to mom, and they kind of go over the time. And he changes from like sobbing and I'm sorry to immediately like wanting to do self-harm and smashing his head on a table. And then just out of nowhere, man, digs a finger into his eye socket and starts ripping his eyeball out. And it is graphic and immediate and unflinching. I did not see that coming at all. I fully squirmed on the couch. Like knees came up to chest, like, oh, like it. Yeah, that got me. That was really good. And then just the repeated smashing the head again and again and again was just, I was shocked that he made it to the hospital afterwards. Like I fully figured like, okay, this kid is dead now. And now they have to deal with the consequences of this. But it wasn't, and what happened was worse. And it was just like, Jesus Christ, like, this poor kid. But like that was such an impactful scene.
Yes,
literally
100%. And that's why I said that the other half of that scene with the party was the best part of the movie. While I don't enjoy eye gouging, it was extremely effective and different. Though unflinching, they at least didn't just sit there with the camera and like watch him pull out his eyeball. Thank God they're trying to actually try to stop him and like shove it back in.
Right. like that whole thing happened fast enough that it was like the perfect amount of like, you know exactly what's happening. You definitely saw that eyeball come out of the socket, but then there's people like shoving their hands over and it cut away to people's reactions.
Mm-hmm.
So like you get the best of all worlds. You're not drawn out to just like watch a CGI sinewy thing pulling out of a face. You see the graphicness of it. It feels like a very practical effect. You get that moment and then it cuts away. And you're just left sitting on like the, oh God, what did I just see?
Yep.
Like it did not overstay its welcome, but it also did not shy away from showing you the worst of it.
Yeah, no, I can't unsee that.
Mm-hmm.
Side note, if you do watch Vicious Fun, be ready.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm
mean,
sure
Nick always has to be ready.
Yeah, right. I have to be ready all the time because, like, you can't turn on fucking HGTV without somebody getting their throat slit on the wrong day. Like, it's impossible. So I just assume, like, everything I watch, I'm like, can I make it through this 45 minutes? Probably not. So every time there's an eyeball trauma, I kind of get very happy about it because somebody else has to suffer just like a little bit.
One note I have that I feel like this is the only kind of writing thing that's stuck with me in a negative way was these kids are like doing this possession activity, get it, like Brian said, getting like high off of it, partying and stuff. And every time they do it, everyone busts out their cell phone and starts taping it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning of the movie, someone mentions like being on the group chat. Like, so there's a group chat of these videos being sent back and forth. But then during the party or one of the parties, someone says like, oh, this is so going on the internet. And it seemed like, yes, they're very free with this, but presumably with almost only people that they invite to the house. Because like they were very surprised when Mia showed up, and then when Riley walked in behind her, I was like, oh God, now the little brother is here too. But I was left kind of feeling like, well, wait a minute. Are you guys like, this is great, and you're posting these videos on the internet because then like everybody would fucking know about it and this would be a much bigger deal? Or are you keeping this a little closer to the chest, which the general feeling of the movie leads you to believe?
I took it as social media. Because even like one of the videos they were watching, you saw like the smiley faces like popping up on like in the middle of the video, so as like a reaction thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, one of them can post it like, oh shit, but if they're not tagging a location or anything, like it could create a thing online, but you can keep the anonymity of, or try to, of where it's taking place. But obviously, like, unless the instructions are written on the hand, like I said, it is lore, like people seem to know about the hand, right? Because it ends up in another country at the end of the movie and they knew what to do. So it's a global urban legend, or it's just legend of the internet.
Yeah, which leads me to believe that they're posting on social media, so people are seeing it outside of the reach of their friend group. So when it goes to somebody else, they already know. They've watched a video where somebody grabs a hand, says, talk to me, and says, I let you in. They've seen that, so they know what to do before they receive the hand.
Yeah.
I just I wrote that off as like, I could be throwing a raging party right now, but if I didn't tell you guys in advance, you're not going to be at my house. So, I can invite 5 people over and film this thing and throw it up on the internet, and like it might gain traction, but by the time it does and people see it, party's long gone.
Yeah, I guess I don't mean so much like having uninvited guests show up, but more just like it seems like any of the parents in this situation have no idea what could possibly be going on, or I don't know. And then so like kind of side thing here, the hand at the very end of the movie that's in a different country, I assume that was the other hand because they mention it in the movie. They're like, we don't know where the other one is. Because they like supposedly these are the hands.
Now we got to go back and see which hand he reaches out with.
He reaches out with his right, because if I remember it, because I just watched the end, Mia takes her right hand to grab his, and you see the fingers curl around.
So they do a
I
normal
assume they
handshake.
got rid of the hand, but they just don't. I mean, I could be very wrong about this. There could also be more than one. Wait, hold on. Wait, what hand are they using in the movie? Oh, that's the left hand. So, yeah, actually, that is the other hand. You're right.
Yeah, because they make a point of when they're giving that
I
very
missed that.
quick description of where it came from. It was like, oh, the embalmed. If you were to break this open, there'd be a dead guy's hand in there, which I thought we'd see at some point in the movie, and they never
Yeah,
did.
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna
That'll
hit the
be
floor during one of the scenes.
yeah.
And, yeah,
But they said like, yeah, they chopped the hands off of I don't know what type of
it was
person a medium or something.
Yeah, that was
Um,
one of the stories was supposedly meeting. But yeah, I'm like, we're talking about this. I'm looking at the poster, and I'm like, wait, that's not a right hand.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm
yeah,
fairly certain the one at the end is.
yeah,
So
because someone
interesting.
says like, yeah, we don't know where the other one is.
Huh. Um, huh. Well, there's already, if you, I think there's already a sequel planned. Shocking no one, I'm sure. Um,
Oh, is there? Okay, because I was wondering because I in my notes I was going to ask you guys if you think there'll be a sequel, and I read that one of the directors, Danny, was quoted about being very enthusiastic about the possibility, but he's like, yeah, everyone's got to
yeah.
ask for it, and we'll do it. But
Yeah, I mean, this could just, I mean, just because it's on IMDb doesn't mean it's gospel,
mhm,
but there's Talk to Me with the number 2 listed
mm.
as with
Oh,
the,
they could do better than that. Come on.
Yeah,
I mean, that's actually pretty good.
yeah, it's like,
But
why
like,
would you do better than
yeah.
that? um, but yeah,
does
I mean, it seems like it's been very successful, so I wouldn't be
yeah
surprised.
does
Yeah.
A24 typically do sequels though?
Well, kind of, if you look at X, Pearl, and Maxine coming out,
True,
Mm-hmm.
but
true,
that's the only one I can think of.
yeah,
Oh, no, they weren't Smile. Never mind. Yeah, so not normally. But if they're going to do a sequel, they have to pick up. I don't want them to follow Mia and like continue her journey in the
yeah,
underworld.
no,
Like,
No.
but here's the problem: if you do it starting kind of where the movie ended with, I should know what language were they in France, Spain? I don't know what
No
they
idea.
were.
I
Um,
thought it was
they
Spanish,
don't-
maybe Portuguese. I don't know.
yeah, if they start there ish, because we know that the other hand is there. How do you do it differently? Well, how do you do it differently without adding lore to potentially muck it up?
You
Right?
don't,
Like,
so they shouldn't.
no, but that's my point. Like, someone's going to
Yeah.
have to hold on too long, and then they're going to have to figure it out. And obviously, maybe they won't have a mother who just died. Maybe they'll have both their parents, and it's good. They'll have some other shit they're dealing with. But like,
That
I mean,
yeah,
but like how many times have we seen a Halloween movie where it's the exact same thing every time, but like the kills are slightly different, the whatever is slightly different, but the plot's the fucking exact same thing every movie. So
yeah,
I mean,
I
they
feel like
can
it's
do the
different.
same thing for a second movie as long as the resulting effects of ripping out an eyeball are different.
mhm,
Yeah, I mean, fair. I feel it's a little different with slashers because you have somebody who has to kill other people,
Yeah.
like another
Right.
human or humanoid that has to go around killing other people. When you're playing with possession stuff, like there's different types of possession things. You look at the Conjuring movies and all that stuff, but they're taking different in Insidious. They're taking different pieces, types of it, and creating different stories, doing it in different ways from the jump. They're not direct sequels; they're universe.
mhm.
So, I mean, I'd be open to it. I'm curious if they could do it, but you gotta be smart about it. I guess is the. It's
Yeah,
really easier for it to just be like, "Oh, look, you did that again." Okay,
yeah. I feel like it would just be the dynamic of what's going on in the people's lives and how that
Right.
affects them. but with, the mechanics remaining the same without going too far. Because you could easily just be like, oh, we got both hands in the same place, and that creates something
Well, that's the
stupid and
third
over the
one.
top. Yeah.
Talk to me. They got the parent hands. They have them shake each other. And
Mia's reaching out her left hand at the end.
Is it her left hand?
Yeah, I just rewatched it.
Don't trust my memory. That's the lesson here. Don't trust my memory. All right, so it is the same hand.
Yeah.
That's reminding me the one kind of mechanic that they added a little later in the movie, but I think was a great scene, was when Mia sees the little girl, and she does the hand thing in the hospital and sees the little girl sitting on the bed. But then the little girl says, I let you in, and she goes the other direction.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
I did not see that coming at all. To be like, oh shit, this is a two-way street. And then what you see through her eyes was relatively disturbing.
Yeah,
it was that's more of that.
Like Event
is
Horizon.
Where it's another thing to play with in a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
But also, if you're going to do it in the other country, stick with native language and make it subtitled. Don't play with accents unless they are native and can have the accents. Unlike Mia's parents, neither of them had Australian accents.
Huh.
Not explained.
Interesting.
Also not critically important, but weird.
But weird.
Because Mia has it.
Yeah, I hope they don't. If they do it, they don't dive too much into going the other direction, because then it just feels like Insidious to me. We're going into the further,
Yeah, no, it's true. It's very true.
Yeah, I kind of don't want it to have a sequel. Like, I'd be curious to see where they go with it and what they do, but it's just like, I don't know how you do it and don't ruin it by adding too much.
Well, just like Smile's getting a sequel. This is why I mentioned it before. Like, why? Like, what else are you going to add to that to give it a sequel?
I didn't see it, so.
Yeah, it's definitely not that.
It's a very meh.
Okay.
This was better than that, to say that much.
Yeah, for sure. Any other stuff we want to touch on?
No, we covered the end. We covered the crazy graphics.
Well, so the very end. So I don't know if we directly said, but alluded to. So Mia dies, and she ends up getting called by the hand when the hand ends in another country, and it ends with the guy saying, "I let you in," which is cool. And what is kind of glossed over because they don't hit on it so heavily is like there's not a greatly happy ending. Like, Riley ends up okay, you see that, but your protagonist is dead. You still see her, she's not alive, and I thought that was cool. It wasn't completely nihilistic because again, Riley lived. But what we didn't talk about is Mia's death and how that went down. So they try to leave it ambiguous. So she goes to kill Riley because she's convinced by the ghost, like, that's how we're going to save him, if we just kill him and let his spirit go. So because Riley's mother's still at the hospital and shit goes down, she ends up kidnapping him in a wheelchair. Somehow not every alarm in the building went off when she unhooked all the tubes and everything. Like, that's the most unrealistic part of this movie. Like, I think I actually noted that the first time I watched it. Like, no, everything's going off. You're not getting that to happen. Anyway, she takes him down to the edge of the highway, and she's standing there holding the back of the wheelchair, and that's when bloated mom ghost comes in and says, "I'm proud of you," whatever, like to kill him, to do it. But they zoom in on her hands, and she takes her hands off the wheelchair and proceeds to stand there. And at that point, Jade is running down the hill. But then it cuts to the inside of a car on a highway. And all of a sudden, something hits the car and it swerves and it cuts back, and you see Mia laying in the middle of the street. So the ambiguity they try to make is, did Mia know enough not to kill it and killed herself? or did Jade push her?
Mm.
And I think Jade pushed her. For two reasons. One, I also rewound and watched that scene a number of times because if you look out the side window of the car, you see Jade come down at Mia. They cut very clever editing here. They did enough to include it so you see she's there, but you can't see exactly what she does, if anything.
Mm-hmm.
So smart move. But the fact that obviously she has her brother there, but her best friend is laying in the street and she's not even looking at her. She is holding her brother like a baby, sitting there staring at him and doesn't even like poke an eye up at the street. So I think she pushed her. It still seems a very cold-blooded, but her relationship with Mia was questionable. I don't know if it was poor writing or she's just like almost bipolar in that regard. You know, obviously she's concerned about her brother. She does blame Mia for some of it, which I get to an extent. But when they're standing at that train station trying to decide what to do, and she says to her, like, that I wish we never let you into my family. And then it's like, that's very harsh. But the next thing they're trying to work together to save him. And then she's like bitter at her again. And it's like, where are we here? Because again, I feel like she's still not grasping the fact that Mia's not fully under her own control. But either way, we know, I feel as the viewer, that Mia would have stopped and not done it. Whether she needed to kill herself or not's another story, but Mia wouldn't have done it. Jade didn't know that. So there is ambiguity. I'm going with she was pushed, but I don't know. I don't know if you guys have opinions on it or thought about it at all.
I think I would lean that direction because I think the whole, Jade being very harsh with her, but then working together and stuff might be a result of what Nick was saying earlier. How some stuff might have gotten pulled out, and we don't see that connecting tissue of her kind of swinging in either of those directions. But I mean, I thought it was interesting that they included that little bit of story that Daniel, like Mia and Daniel, used to have a crush on each other, essentially. Like they were never actually together. Like they made a joke about like, oh, you held hands once, whatever. But now Daniel is Jade's boyfriend. But then they have that weird scene where they end up sleeping in the same bed together, the opposite, head to foot sort of situation. And then he wakes up and Mia's sucking on his feet, which was so freaking weird.
Yeah.
But then
clearly a shock value thing.
Yeah. But Jade finds out about it. So that I think is the biggest push for her to be super pissed and be like, well, you slept with my boyfriend, because, she's not going to believe. He keeps
trying to say it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. And
but of course she's not going to believe it. Yeah.
She's not going to listen to what happened.
Yeah. So I would totally believe by the end of all of this, she is not pleased with Mia and would definitely maybe not fully want to kill her, but when she had a choice between her or her brother, she was going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially because right before that is when Jade went to Mia's house and found her father there. And so she calls her mother and be like, no, don't leave her alone with Riley. She's dangerous. So she knows something's wrong. She might not know she might realize it's not Mia consciously doing it, but,
but
she has to end it.
State when she thinks she just killed her dad and now she's going to kill my brother. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I think I just further convinced myself that she did it in a defensive way, not in a malicious, I'm going to kill you. But that was her solution to solving the whole problem, which was right. So it seems.
So the other thing that a sequel could follow to some degree is Riley. You say we see him being okay at the end because when she's walking by, so we see Mia back in the hospital where she's still thinking she's alive. We
Yeah.
might still be thinking she's alive. And like lights are going out around her. Rooms are getting dark. She sees her dad walking away and is chasing down a hallway, and things are like disappearing as she goes. But we see Riley's room, and his family is like checking him out of the hospital essentially. So it leaves you to assume he's okay. But we know that if you spend more than 90 seconds tuned into it, you see dead people and turn into all Sixth Sensey and whatnot. And he's clearly been trying to harm himself a fair amount, but he's also been strapped to a hospital bed and heavily sedated for a lot of that time. So there's nothing to say that he's not still possessed when he leaves that hospital. They say that like the voices get weaker the longer you're away from it, is like the one scene we get with the older brother there. But like, yeah, that's his bit of information. But Bucket still killed himself. So, we don't know that Riley's out of the woods yet. Like, he's going home.
Right.
That may not be the best thing for him.
That's a bit of lore that they're going to have to explain, because we see with Mia, she's seeing ghosts and her body's not fully taken over. For him, and maybe it's because he's not conscious, but they are holding on to his soul. But it seems like that's the reason he isn't conscious, because after his soul seems to get saved.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like why did Mia's death heal him? Like, what's the connection to that? That the sequel needs to explain that. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, so that kind of left me thinking, like, she's seeing like her happy ending version of things, following her dad into the sunset, seeing Riley go home, everything is all okay, and then, oh wait, the world went black and I'm on the other side. But I don't know that what we're seeing is real, because like, she's dead in the street. She's not in the hospital walking around. So what she's seeing isn't real. She's following her dad, who's already dead, through a hospital she's not technically in. And then the world goes black around her. So I don't think Riley's out of the woods. I don't think he has a happy ending in this.
Interesting.
I did know it's to the end of the credits, because that seems like the perfect time to like show him still in the hospital.
Yeah, I did watch the end of the credits. There's nothing there.
Okay.
Yeah, I said I don't remember anything, and I'm sure Marvel has trained me to sit there through the end of the credits, or at least look up, is there an extra credit scene?
I just fast forward. Just jump to the end.
I mean, in a theater. Yeah, here I fast forward.
Right, in a theater I sit. But yeah. No, there wasn't one.
Funny, yeah.
Again, I like that ambiguity. You can decide. I mean, you can take away from it that like, oh, Riley's better and he went home. You can be like, I'm not really sure. You can be like, that was all imagined. That kid is dying. Like,
no, but actually, it's funny you say that, because it actually, if she's seeing her dead dad, it actually would almost make sense to see a dead Riley, or she's seeing what she wants to see. She's seeing her dad alive. She's seeing Riley alive.
Right.
Which means we just don't know Riley's fate. That makes a lot of sense now. Yeah.
And I like that. I like it being ambiguous. You don't know if she was pushed. You don't know if she jumped. You don't know if Riley lives or dies. Like, that's a good ending.
Nice.
And like, it wraps everything up, but it leaves a lot open, and it's dark as fuck. I like that.
And I think that's my overall qualm with this movie is there's so many good things, which we just all discussed, including the ambiguity and things like that. And I just wish maybe it's just how I am. I would have liked just a darker tone and more tension through the whole movie. Like, I couldn't, like, kind of like a Dark and the Wicked kind of thing. Like, it just stays gritty and tense and dark, because there's a lot of that here. But that's why I said briefly after the first time I watched it, like, the tension broke too often for me. Like, they kept the plot moving. I thought the pacing was pretty decent. But like, after something really gnarly happened, I didn't feel the same tension, because I didn't sense an immediate danger. Then it would get to another scene where it built up to something like the father dying. And I guess from there it stayed a little darker, but I think it's just me. I like the darker, grittier, because we get a lot of this type of kind of waving and pacing nowadays. I get it. It's more palpable. So I can't fault the movie for that. It's just as a personal preference. If you're going to do all those kind of nasty, gnarly things right, just do more of it. Keep it steady in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Those are all bullet points I have to touch on.
Yes. Same.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. So let's hand out some merit badges. If you're new around these parts, we like to hand out merit badges for things we thought a film did well. They'd be popping up on the screen right about now if you're watching the video version on youtube.com/@horrorscouts. This little conversation about, and now Nick was saying that the ending was great. Why did we never think to make a good ending badge?
Yeah, right. It's so fucking rare that like an ending leaves me satisfied.
Yeah.
Like that it's always they go too heavy on the lore or up the stakes so much it becomes a parody of itself that like very rarely does a movie stick the landing, and this one did. So yeah, I would definitely give an award for that if we had one.
There you go, Mike. New badge.
New badge.
It's going to screw up your number. You might want to come up with 2 so you keep an even number.
Exactly. Get out of my head.
Well, we can help with that. But yeah.
I mean, if you just put Sad Kangaroo back on the list, you're good.
True. True. I have to rework the art for that one because that one like
was just a kangaroo.
No, it goes like beyond the circle, the bounds of the circle.
Oh, okay.
That's why I loved it.
Yeah.
The badge was better than the movie.
All right. So badges for Talk to Me. I'm going to say practical effects because I brought that up earlier. Good stuff.
There might not have been a shit ton of them, but they were
what
good.
was there was great.
Yeah.
Especially like realistic ones, I feel like are harder to do right. And they did it very right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually when we're given practical effects, it's for like cool puppety monsters and buckets of blood. And this is like, no, this just felt real and it was gnarly.
Yeah.
No. Lore for days. I'm awarding the fact that they just kept it tight.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
It fucking deserves it.
Brian's thinking.
No.
No. All right.
Okay. I was going to say directing and like the overall vision and keeping everything. This felt like a nice, tight, complete, well thought package.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this works well. Again, it's a fucking debut, man.
Mm-hmm.
We have a really good track record with that.
Oh, yeah.
I approve.
How do we feel about
I back
acting?
it, I should say.
How do we feel about editing?
Acting.
I mean, acting. I thought the acting was good. I don't know that it was like remarkable, but it was good.
Right.
So, like, either way.
Yeah, on the same way, like it was, I don't want to use the word sufficient. That sounds demeaning. It was good, but yeah, none of them blew my mind.
Okay.
I would consider giving cringe for that one fucking scene, man.
That's what. So that's why I was hemming and hawing. Like that scene was very cringeworthy to me, but I didn't know if it was enough to warrant a badge.
I mean, I don't have a problem with eye things. Like that's usually fine with me, and usually throats are what make me squirm. And I fully involuntarily squirmed on the couch when that happened. So like, I don't know. I'd give it cringe because that was gnarly, but
no, I mean it was. I don't remember the last time we gave a cringe badge. Like, if it's like, oh, it's one cringy scene, it gets a cringe badge, or if it's like, oh, there's a lot of cringe. But
I don't know.
Let's be real, that shit was cringy.
Yeah, and I mean, for people like us who are seasoned horror watchers, we stuff like the normies would be like, oh, absolutely cringe, and you'd be like, nah, come on, calm the fuck down. So if you're saying that, yeah, might as well. I think it's probably strong enough.
I can't think of a movie we've watched recently that like I've done that for. That has like just the full like, oh God. Like, jump scares get me every time. They're designed to, they work on me, whatever. We all know that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I can't think of something that's been just like uncomfortable to watch, not in a dread way, but just in a like, oh shit, that's nasty. I can't think of something that we've watched this year that has had that effect on me. So
no, you're right. And I would even the argument could be made that the entirety of that scene, just because, especially with the sound and whatnot, just him smashing his face on things.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
And
I'd give it that.
Yeah. And even like just seeing him in the hospitals in the aftermath, like, oh God.
Yeah.
His messed up face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it earns it.
Yep. Yeah, that's fair.
And also, like, I guess this is more creepy or whatever. And we didn't talk about this, and I guess it falls under practical effects, but those black contacts that they used every time someone like shot back and was possessed or whatever, and then when Mia like leans off to the side, I think that's one of the promo pieces of art or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It was friggin' creepy.
It's effectively creepy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it for badges?
I think that's it for me. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So Talk to Me is going to walk away with badges for practical effects, lore, directing, and cringe. Job well done to the Philippou Brothers and Company. All right, that's going to do it. Thanks everyone for joining us. Again, if you're watching us on youtube.com/@horrorscouts, leave us a comment, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Or if you're listening to us on a podcast service and you're able to leave a review or a rating, stars or whatever, please do that as well if you've got a couple seconds to spare. Our Instagram account is @horror_scouts. I believe I did set up our threads, but I haven't used it yet.
Okay.
So we're
Let's start.
getting closer.
You're like
It's
right
just
there.
taking a few months. It's fine. And also invite link to our Discord.
I seriously thought you were about to say, and LinkedIn. And I was like, really? How so? Tell me more. I want to hear all about that.
I heard you can use it to get sponsors now.
Oh, cool.
Discord link in the description as well. All right, that'll do it for us here on this episode of Horror Scouts. We'll see everybody next time. Bye.